Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. It is Thursday, October 5th, 2023. This is just like a public service announcement. I'm wearing my pastor slash apostle hat right now to take care of my flock, okay? Um, God said I have permission to do this. This is just, it's not really ministry related. This is just a heads up for you, okay, as to what's going on in the world in case you are not aware. And I don't really know what to call this. I'm going to have to figure out what to even title this. But so recently in my bank account, I have noticed in the last maybe week or two, okay, um, really, yeah, like the last week or two, since like late September, that transactions would be in the pending status, and then they would clear, and then they would disappear, and then reappear. And one of them disappeared for about a week and didn't reappear for about a week, okay? And so after seeing this happen, and it happened with more than one merchant, shall we say, I just called my bank. Now, I bank with Capital One, but what I just learned is that this has nothing to do with the bank. This has to do with apparently whatever software, whatever financial accounting software, processing software that the merchants are using. So this may apply to you, okay? Now I keep a checkbook, and I exhort you to start keeping a checkbook because of what I'm about to share with you. I know most people do not keep a checkbook. Most people somehow, some way, check the balance of their account, and that's how they live their life. And that's honestly very foolish. It's very unwise. But I know that's how a lot of people roll with their finances. And again, let me just remind you, this is a Christian channel. You're to be, as a Christian, you're to be a good steward of God's finances. Your money, your finances are God's finances, and you are to steward it well, okay? And that means being organized. That means keeping a checkbook and keeping track of your transactions, keeping your receipts, etc., okay? And here's why now this is going to come into play and be more pertinent, okay? Now, the Lord had me come on here recently and tell you that the hour in Revelation 18 of Babylon falling is Heshvan this year of 2023, which starts at the end of October. I believe the Lord told me it starts at dusk on the 19th of October. We know that Babylon, America, is falling. So this particularly applies to those in America, but it may apply around the world. I don't know. I would assume, since all the countries are in cahoots and heading towards the same goals, okay? But you need to start watching your bank account to see if this is happening, okay? So again, I called the customer service line for my bank, Capital One, and what I was told is basically that the bank has nothing to do with it. What's happening is the merchant, wherever you are doing your transactions, what they're doing, apparently, and again, this is something I've never seen before. I've never seen this happening until like maybe the last week or two. What they're doing basically is they will put in the transaction, and then they'll cancel it, and then they'll re-put it in again. They'll reprocess it again. So it's like they put it in, then they void it or delete it, and then they reprocess it again later. And that could be whenever they get around to it. And the longest gap of time that I've seen, it's happened now with, I think, 3 different transactions that I've seen in the last maybe week or two. And the longest gap, I think, was about a week. It was like 7 days, give or take about a week, okay? The transaction completely disappeared and then reappeared. And this could screw you up if you're keeping track of like month to month, you know, in terms of like reconciling your bank account and all that. And this is why you do need to keep a checkbook. And you do need to reconcile your checkbook with your bank statement at the end of every month, okay? But just because you think you've got money because you've got XYZ balance does not mean that you necessarily have that money, because they could have voided the transaction and then later on they're going to reprocess it, okay? So I'm just giving you a courtesy heads up to be aware that this is what's going on. I assume this has something to do with just, in general, how things are heading, where things are heading with technology, with software, etc., etc., etc. That's what I was told by the customer service representative at my bank, was that it really is on the end of the merchant, and it's up to whatever software. Because I've done office work since I was about 19 years old, and I've done some finances, and I was even an analyst for a while. Okay, I'm pretty well-rounded. In the world of finances, in the world of accounting, transactions don't just fall off. And that was the terminology that she was using, was that, oh, well, the transaction can fall off. I said, no. I said, transactions don't just fall off. And so I clarified with her. I said, so what is actually happening? And then I re-summarized back to her, and I said, so what you're telling me is the merchant is actually voiding or canceling the transaction and then reprocessing it. And she said, well, technically, yes. Okay. And again, this could go, there could be an interim gap of like a week or however long they decide. Okay. So you need to be watching your finances. You need to be watching your bank account. You need to be keeping a checkbook and reconciling your checkbook with your bank statement at the end of every month to really know where you're at with your finances. Because one moment your bank account could say you've got XYZ, and then the next moment it could say something different, because they're playing these games where they're canceling transactions and then reprocessing them. And you might think that, oh, it's a blessing from God, or maybe God gave me favor. And I'll be honest, that's what I thought happened, especially with my situation right now. But no. Okay. So just be aware that there's something going on in terms of financial software that these merchants are using, where they're canceling and then reprocessing. And so you can see transactions disappear and then reappear. And I'm not talking about them being in the pending status. I'm talking like they initially run it, it's in the pending status, then it clears from the pending status, and then it disappears, and then it reappears later. That's what I'm saying, okay? So I'm just making you aware. I bless you all in the name of Yeshua, the Christ of Nazareth.